So now you understood about the Hadoop architecture. So how Hadoop, I did not deal complete architecture. Okay, how Hadoop stores and how Hadoop processes we have discussed. So in the case of Hadoop for processing, we have two things. Number one, MapReduce. Number two, Spark. This MapReduce was old one, that we exclusively for Hadoop. This is Spark. This is also a product of Apache. But Spark is for open systems. Open systems for big data. So in the case of open systems, you can use like a cluster called Mesos. You can use on Hadoop. Initially, it supports only AWS. Now with name Databricks, it is supporting even Azure and also with Google, etc. So that means you can use this Spark for Hadoop systems and also for non-Hadoop systems. So what exactly the benefit with the Spark, how the Spark execution will happen? We need to understand first. Okay, based on the example of Hadoop and a Spark example, I will explain. First, the basic key benefits of the Spark. Number one, in-memory computing. So what is the difference between disk computing and in-memory computing? We need to understand first. So this is very much high speeder than disk computing models. And second one is flexible parallelism. Flexible parallel means parallel process means can control number of parallel nodes. That means increase or decrease, you can say. Of course, generally the word decrease is not that much suitable. Increase is the best word. Okay, you can control the number of nodes that are to be participated in the parallel process during execution. Okay, so these are the benefits. Basic. So highlight point is in-memory computing. Previously, before Spark, the in-memory computing system for the data warehouse was SAP HANA. But HANA is not a distributed system, but Spark is a distributed system. Okay. So the first step I am coming to the point, disk computing versus in-memory computing. In case of disk computing, All regular processes, including MapReduce. So MapReduce also comes under this one, disk computing only. So execution style is like this. Suppose let's talk about one particular CPU. So this is your physical disk. This is virtual memory. It's not VM, virtual memory. Act as a disk. Suppose generally the hard disk capacity is 10 GB. Within this 10 GB, 4 GB for virtual memory, 6 GB for your actual real storage. So this not act as a disk. This virtual memory act as a RAM. And this is your RAM. Here you have processor. Okay. Above the cycle, I have data here. So whenever you run a query or whenever you run a job, first of all, this data has to be loaded into virtual memory. From virtual memory to physical RAM. From physical RAM to the processor based on the type of processor, whether it is 32-bit processor or 64-bit processor, like this. Suppose 64-bit, 64 divided by 8, that means 8 bytes. That means the data is divided into the packets. Okay, first 8 byte of packet. So here 8 byte of packet. Again from here to here 8 byte of packet. From here to here again 8 byte of packet. After that, the processed result, once the 8 byte got processed again, the result sent back to the RAM. RAM to virtual. Virtual to some temporary file of disk. Whenever the processed result came back to the disk in a temporary file, then next 8 byte will be released. Again 8 byte, 8 byte, 8 byte, again processed 8 byte, processed 8 byte, processed 8 byte, again next 8 byte. This will be the style if it is a disk computing model. Go for any database or any other processing system, the processing style, the processing mechanism is like this. So here, if you observe the process, there are a lot of cycles are here. Lot of cycles are involving here. Okay, step 1, step 2, step 3. Again, in the downfall also, step 4, step 5, step 6. Okay, lot of disk cycles will be there. So obviously it will cause a little latency. Okay, so this is the working style in disk computing. In the case of in-memory computing, what will happen is, observe the same picture. I have a processor, RAM, that to distributed RAM. Okay, that means think that I am writing only one CPU. Think that in this way many number of CPUs that you have. Virtual memory. So technically this name is virtual storage. Is a part of disk only, but some part of the disk space is acting as virtual storage. This is really equivalent to the RAM. And this is our disk, real storage. So here we have data. Now data moved here, from here to moved here. At these two areas, data will be cached. Okay, suppose 10 GB data. Here I have free space of 2 GB. Here I have to free space of 8 GB. 8 GB cached at virtual storage, 2 GB will be cached at real storage. That is RAM storage. After that, the data, the cycling between only processor and RAM, processor and RAM. So previously cycling data to virtual, virtual to RAM, RAM to processor, again come back to RAM, RAM to virtual, again virtual to disk. In this way, cycles are more. Now here the cycling between only RAM and processor. And also you have facility called data cache in the RAM. Even though one job executed, one job execution completed, still next job or next process needs same data, but data is already cached into the RAM. So this is what in-memory computing, which is 100 times faster than disk computing. So this is one of the highlight within the Spark. I'm coming to the second advantage. Flexible parallelism. What is the meaning of flexible parallel process? Let's talk about this cluster. Think that is a Hadoop cluster. It's my master. And I have slaves here. Think that your cluster is biggest, somewhat medium range. What you have is 100 clusters, 100 nodes. Worker node number 1, 2, 3 up to you have 100 nodes. Suppose there is a file of size 100 MB. Whenever I load this file into Hadoop, the file is divided into the blocks, block 1, block 2. This is for 3-time replicas. This is for 3-time replicas. Okay, for now, I'm not talking about replicas, only talking about core blocks. Let's say block 1 stored here, block 2 stored here. Totally including all replicas, you have 6 blocks. But whenever I submit a job, in the case of MapReduce, suppose you submitted a job. The job is divided into 2 tasks. Why only into 2 tasks I have, even though 6 replicas? The number of unique blocks are 2 here. The 2 unique blocks, that's why this is as a task 1 and a task 2. The master will assign task 1 to, suppose, system number 1 and task 2 to system number 4. These 2 missions are parallelly running. Now in this example, how many nodes are engaging into parallel process? Answer is 2. Why 2? Number of unique blocks. That means here one conclusion here. Number of parallel nodes not greater than that means exactly equal to number of unique blocks. You cannot go beyond this one. I have 2 unique block means only 2 parallel processes. You cannot go beyond that one. Got it? There's some fixed speed, that's it. But whenever I talk about flexible, even though I have 2 unique blocks, but I want to parallelly process it by multiple nodes more because I have other 98 nodes free in this moment. Why should I compromise in this? Okay, so how the Spark is going to provide you the solution? Suppose I have a HDFS file. The file is like this. Let's say my cluster, under that my data. My data 1.txt is my file. Think that this is my file. To read this file, what you do is you will create one RDD. What is that RDD? Later I will explain. RDD1 equals to, okay. I want to read this file, sc.text, Spark context object, dot text file. I am giving my file path. The file path is this one, HDFS : my path is under my cluster. Think that this is my cluster host name. Under this, my file is my data 1.txt. Okay, if I say like this, what will happen is this is also equivalent to MapReduce only. Okay. RDD is a resilient distributed data set. The data sets are allocated, data set is divided into partitions during runtime. Data set, that means is a logical data object. RDD is a data object. This object during runtime is divided into partitions. Each partition will be executed by one node. Each partition will be executed by not one node, one core. One core of processor. What is the meaning of this system? This statement. Try to understand this point. My master, my slaves. Each slave is a CPU user. The CPUs in a cluster is called nodes. Think that I have only 5 nodes here. Block 1 data here. Block 2 data here. My previous statement, RDD1 equals to the spark context.txt file. And I have given my file path. Think that this file is having two blocks. Okay. Now for the block one partition, partition one. For the block two, partition two. This partition one executed by system number one. This partition two is executed by partition two. Sorry, the system number two. So in this case, except in-memory computing, remaining process as same as MapReduce only. But I'm going to change a little change in the system in my statement. Master slave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, let's stop with 6 nodes. Okay, same file, but statement I am changing. RDD1 equals to sc.txt file. And I'm giving my file path. Okay, here I am saying number 2. Got it? This 2 is number of partitions. Number of partitions for each block. Think that your file is having only 2 blocks. Block 1, block 2. Forget about replicas for some time. This is divided into partition 1, partition 2. This is divided into partition 3, partition 4. Actually, I have 2 blocks, but during runtime, these 2 blocks are divided into 4 partitions. Think that under each node, you have 4 core processor. Think that this is our processor. This box is having 4 cores. Core 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the first partition is executed by core 1. At the same time, second core will not be in COM mode, will not be in rest mode. The second partition will be executed by core 2. Partition 3, again here in the system number 3, think that core 1 is free now. The partition 3 will be executed by core number 1. Think that core 2 busy, core 3 busy, already doing some other operations. Now the partition 4 will be executed by core number 4. This is case number 1. Okay. Now how many unique blocks here? How many unique blocks I have? 2 unique blocks. Even though 2 unique blocks, my number of parallel processes here are 4. Got it? That means number of parallel process can be greater than or equals to. Can be greater than or equals to number of unique blocks. Okay. One more case I will explain. Same thing, master, and I have slaves. We have 100 nodes. This time I am creating RDD, the data object like this. se.text file and your file path. I'm saying that each block should be, during runtime, each block should be divided into 4 partitions. Same story here, block 1 is available, here block 2 is available. This is partition 1, partition 2, partition 3, and partition 4. Same thing here, partition 5, partition 6, partition 7, partition 8. Think that the partition 1 work, the task is assigned to core 1. This is for core 2. This is for core 3. But here, core 4 is busy. So core 4 is already doing some job, means it cannot accept the work of the partition number 4. In this moment, whatever the system may be, that it has to be kept in waiting. Now, instead of doing that, maybe think that this mission number 98. Okay, core 1 is free. Immediately during runtime, this data is distributed into only partition 4 data is distributed into core 1. And this partition 4 is executed by system number 98, that too by core number 1. So waiting time solved. Now totally here in this example, totally how many parallel processes that you can avail? 8 parallel processes. But how many unique blocks you have? Only 2 unique blocks. On that way, if 2 systems are parallelly working, the speed is different. 8 systems are parallelly doing the same work, the speed is different. Got it? So here basically 2 reasons why Spark is faster. Reason number 1, reason number 2, reason number 3. What is the first reason we have explained? It uses in-memory computing. And second thing is enhanceable parallel process. That means you can increase, by increasing the number of partitions, you can increase number of parallel nodes to be participated. That is what enhanceable or flexible parallel process. And number 3, cache of data objects. In memory. Suppose one object which is required by many other tasks, many other flows. Okay. In such cases, if data is, once data process completed, generally RDDs will be cleared off from the memory. Suppose I need a particular RDD, this RDD to be used, suppose there is an RDD name is RDDX, this has to be used by RDDY, RDDZ, and RDDU. Okay. In such case, I will keep this one into the cache. That means I can persist. I can persist that particular RDD in RAM. So next onwards, whenever I call this RY, if RY input is RDDX, already that is available in the memory, immediately it takes the data and it will be executed. Got it? This is the third benefit. Second benefit, first benefit already we have discussed. So more elaborately, we can go for this caching, how exactly the things will be executed, we can see. Okay, first, please unmute. Did you understand this why Spark is faster, better than MapReduce? MapReduce uses a disk computing, but here in Spark we are using in-memory computing. And also you can increase number of parallel nodes by increasing the number of partitions. And a particular RDD can be used by many other RDDs. Then you can persist that particular RDD into the RAM. Okay, not permanent storage, but during that entire job flow execution completed, this RDD will be available in the RAM. Why you need to write the data flows? Because in single step, lot things cannot be achieved. That's why step-by-step flows we will be writing. A sample data flow I will show you. Don't fear by seeing this code. The code is very simple. Sir, is my session recording?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you check once? Maybe I'm not sure.
Come to this one, sir. For today, one simple flow. How exactly the data flow in Spark will be there. Data flow programming style. So for today, only observe what exactly the data flow. So after that, when we step into the practice part, we have different components under this Spark. So for this, the step-by-step, different complicated and simple transformations, how you can perform and how you can analyze data, you will be understanding. Now one simple hello world program I am taking. The hello world of your MapReduce or Spark is word count. Suppose there is a text file. Hello all. Welcome to Big Data. Big data is complex. This is the content in my file. Now tell me, what is the shape of variety of this data, structured or unstructured? Definitely it is a unstructured. Because there is no fixed pattern for a row to row. I want to process like this. Hello repeated for how many times? One time. All repeated for how many times? Still one time. Welcome. One time. Big, two times. Data, two times. Is, one time. Complex, one time. So such kind of simple report I want to generate. My input data is this unstructured. Okay. I want to generate this kind of report. Think that this is the file which is Hadoop file. In case of our data lake, this is data lake file. Okay. If it is a simple, sir, in case of Spark, if your input is in Hadoop, you will say hdfs:// and give the file path. If your file is in data lake, you will say adls:/ and give the file path. Remaining statements are as usual, remaining programming techniques. Based on the data source, you will be changing the path. Got it. Okay, think that whether it is a data lake file or your Hadoop file, whatever it may be, first I need to read this data. What is happening, you just observe in this flow. Let's say R1. sc.text file. And I am giving my file path. Think that my file name is comment.txt. So comma, if I don't say any partition number, how many blocks are there in the file? That many partitions. Suppose file has only one block, one partition. File has two unique blocks, two partitions during the runtime. Okay. What is the content of this file? The first line, line 1, line 2, line 3. So 3 lines will be there in this data object as per our previous file. Suppose in the first line, the content is like this. Hello all. I am interested about each word. I want to divide each line into the words. For this, another transformation I am doing. R2 is equal to R1 dot map. Lambda is the expression for transformation. X colon X dot split. Please don't worry. Once again, I am saying, please don't worry about the syntax and everything. The style of transformation. That means each line is coming into X. For that X, what you want to do, automatically the looping will be run. No need to write any for loop here. Understood? On that way in PySpark, the process got simplified. So this is the style of functional programming languages. Okay. So now what is the output here? The first line is divided into hello as one word. Second word is all as a separate word. Same thing. Second line is thing that is having 3 words. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The fourth line, the third line is a thing that is divided into 4 words. So first line has 2 words, second line has 3 words, third line has 4 words. So now each line is converted into array. Previously each line was a string. Now each line is converted into array. But I am interested about every word. That's why simply in the third step, RDD, for this R3, the input is R2. R2 dot, here I am applying flat map. Flat map of lambda X. Forget about this programming. All these programming steps I will explain I will make it very easy. Step by step I will explain. Just I'm straight away I'm showing you the example of a data flow. X. For the X, as it is the X I want. What this flat map is doing is, previously your object is a list of list. That means array of array. Now I am converting array of array into a single array. The first word hello, second word all, next okay, third word, fourth word, fifth word, like this. Okay, think that one of the word is big, data. Again one more word is big, data. Observe the transformation styles, especially for unstructured content. First line reading. The first statement is reading line by line. Each line has a string. What the second transformation is doing, by taking input from the first, what the second is doing, it is converting each line into words. So finally the object is list of list. What the third transformation has done here, converting list of list into single list. Got it? Now in the case of R4, I am saying I am taking input from R3. R3 dot map of lambda Okay, X. Colon. That means each word I am taking. Suppose if there are 15 elements, 15 times automatically loop will be running. In the first iteration, hello will be taking that word. This is a symbol for tuple. In the place of value, 1 I am giving. Now, what is the output by this is, just observe. Later, I will give complete code here. After completion of R3 process at R4, the content will be like this. In the case of R4, your data will be like this. Is a list. First word is a previously single word. Now it is converted as a tuple, like a hello one. Next, all one. That means key value pairs you have constructed in the form of a tuple. Okay. After that, welcome one. In this way, for all the remaining words. After that, a big one. Word as a key, one as a value. Data, one. One more big is here. Again, big one. Data, one. Now list is complete. Now for this R4, I'm going to do one more process. R5 is equal to R4 dot group by key. I'm applying this one. Okay. Or directly instead of group by key, I'm saying that count by key. Later, I will explain in the coding part. I will explain what are all the different other options are available. R4 dot count by key. Automatically, the result will be hello one time, all one time, welcome one time, big two times, data two times. Okay. After that, R5 dot write. Here I will give my output file path. This is my last step. Okay. When our last step is executed, this entire thing is from R1 to up to R5. This entire flow is a single job. Understood? So I repeat all this process as a single line. Observe this. In the case of R1, I am reading data. sc.text file and the file path. For R2, input is coming from R1. That's why R1.map. Each line I want to divide it into words. Lambda line, that x dot split. Okay. Now array of array I will get. Instead of getting array of array directly, I can go with, instead of applying map, I can go with a flat map. Now array of array will be converted into single array. Straight away, now here you can apply the key value pairs. R2 dot map of lambda x colon, in the place of value, I want that word as a key and one as a value. Okay. And in the case of R4, straight away I'm applying the transformation called count by key. A grouping count will be applied. Now the values, each word repeated for how many times? Suppose the word like a hello for one time, like this, the big for 2 times, data for 2 times, like this. Now I want to write these results into my file. Then you can say r4.write and give the file path. That's it. This entire thing is called a data flow. The data flow is like this: R1, R2, R3, then R4. But during this execution, what exactly will happen? Okay, to understand that, during this execution, if any node failed, how it resolves that one. So still other discussion is pending for you. All of you understood this kind of coding? Same thing if it is pure Python. I need to write a lot many loops for this. I need to involve dictionary object. I need to write list and tuples. A lot other work is there. But PySpark coding make it simple. So this is the programming style of data flow in the style of functional programming. All of you understood about this? So in next class, what exactly, once we submitted a job, what exactly will happen at the time of R1? What will happen after completion of R1 execution, before going for the R2, what will happen? All these things step by step we will be discussing. All of you, please prepare notes from these 2 recorded sessions. 1 minute. And tomorrow morning, sir, in the weekends, we go with the Databricks. In the tomorrow morning, we go with ADF. So I will connect by 7. By 8, 7 to 8 tomorrow. We go with Data Factory, Azure Data Factory. Again, next Saturday, we start again, we'll come back to this Azure Databricks discussion. Okay. So before,
So how
yes, Parsuram.
how to determine this number of partitions?
That is generally like suppose one job is there, Parsuram. I have actually 100 node cluster. When I submit this job, think that by daily, this is the scheduled job daily, which is running by 8 p.m. But it is causing output, it is producing output by 10 p.m. And also you are sure of it, it is consuming only 25 nodes. But during this period, what your team has observed is approximately 70 nodes are free. Even though 70 nodes are free, you could able to process only 25 nodes. Process with only 25 nodes, so that this much of a long time is being taken. Got it? Now, according to your previous past observation, what you do is you will be doing some change in the job in the beginning statement. You are increasing number of partitions as 3. Now each block is, suppose you have 25 unique blocks. 25 unique blocks will be divided into 3 partitions. 25 into 3, 75 partitions. These 75 partitions will be distributed across your entire cluster. Actually, your data is available in only 25 nodes, but this partitions runtime distributed into 25 different nodes. This is called MPP. What is MPP?
Multiple parallel
processing.
Not multiple, massive
Massive parallel processing.
massive parallel process. Okay. So how many nodes are available? That many nodes can be used. Even though some nodes are busy, but within that particular node, some of a core. Generally, sir, you take, I'm talking about, suppose you have a laptop. How many cores you have for your laptop? Generally, at the time of purchasing, we go to a shop and we are asking for quadratic core, right? That means under laptop, you have 4 cores for your processor, but industry usage is different. In the production servers, For a single CPU, for a single processor, they go for minimum 128 to 256 cores. That means if I have 100 nodes like this, totally how many cores are available? 100 into 256 available. That means 25,600 nodes are cores are available. That means with 100 node cluster in Spark, I can perform maximum number of parallel processes is 25,600 600 parallel nodes that I can involve, parallel processes that I can involve. Understood? On that way, it depends on that way, because straight away in the beginning day, you cannot decide it.
Yeah.
Yeah, job one you run today, tomorrow again you will run, third day you will run. So based on that history, you will be understanding, okay, how many nodes are engaging, how much time it is taking to increase the speed, to optimize the speed. Because client is asking you, why daily job is taking 2 hours? I want immediately, because by 10 p.m. I need to produce the results. I need to take the decisions by 11 a.m. Tomorrow onwards, this data has to be up into the production applications. If the requirement is like this, if your processing is taking too much time, they cannot make available of this data by tomorrow morning into the productions. Got it? So at the time, the client is forcing you, reduce this 2 hours time into 1 hour, or reduce this 2 hours time into maybe 30 minutes. Okay. So at that time, you have to optimize in such a way. Understood, Parasuram?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tomorrow we'll meet in the morning for ADF, Azure Data Factory. Okay, see you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, right, Preeti, Monica.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.
Can you share a video?
Yes, by tonight. Now I'm going out. By 8:30 I will share it.
Can I call you now? Sure.
Please call me by 7, Parasuram.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
So immediately I need to step into other work.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.